What's going on, everybody? It's Guru. We're back with another analysis video, and as you can see today, we've got a face cam. I decided to enable the face cam just because it helps fill the content when we've got nothing particularly on the screen to show at that given time. So hopefully this just sort of makes the content a little bit more approachable and a little bit easier for you to digest. Today we're going to be looking at the Pan Continental. Looking at Alliance and their game plan and their rotations, etc. I felt like their rotations were a little bit off at times, and their confidence was a little bit low at times. So we're just gonna have a look at their confidence and how that played an effect on them, and then we're gonna have a look at some of their rotations and what they could have done better. So this is gonna be quite a long video. I mean, I've had a little bit of criticism recently around the TSM video, which, admittedly, I didn't really go into the detail about all of the assumptions I made too well, so it just looked like I was just talking completely from hindsight and I hadn't taken things into account, when in fact I had taken a lot of factors into account with my analysis. But it's simply because I was trying to rush it to make a simple bit of content for you guys and make it nice and short so it's easy to digest for you guys. But I've decided I'm just going to try and do it nice and easy and take as long as I need to do to fully explain every bit that I need to explain to make it a lot more detailed and better analysis. So let's just get started and let's have a look at some of the bits that I've thought about for Alliance. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Alliance shirt right now, so I'm good friends with the guys from Alliance, so hopefully they don't take this the wrong way. It's just me looking at some of the things that went wrong with their Pan Continental series. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the confidence of Alliance to start with. So the first clip we've got here on our screen right now is where it's FaZe versus Alliance and get round 10 of the Pan Continental. So let's see how that pans out for them. Okay, so to start us off, Mixie is just shooting VZ and eventually is getting the knock. As you can see, fairly safe place to get knocked, so not really a big deal. Jempty's got the Orms, so we need to be obviously aware of that. But as you can see, the first thing that FaZe do is you can see that they're already moving in the bottom left of in the minimap. You can see they're moving to the left and starting a flank maneuver on Alliance. All of Alliance are bundled up together in the shack, so this is already poor teamfight positioning. Only one guy needs to be there to res VZ there. They don't need all three people there on top of each other trying to res them. So as you can see, FaZe take a massive advantage here because they just move towards the flanks and get a good position. T-Bone has moved himself, as I pause here, T-Bone himself has moved into a good position here. FaZe don't know of this position, so T-Bone's got a nice spear position here, as he knows most of the FaZe players are going to be moving past him. By moving into this position, it allows him to shoot them in the back and hope that they run past him. He can also see some more angles as they start to rotate around the flanks. But to be honest, someone needs to be moving into the north here, where Fuzzface is heading. Someone needs to be watching for that flank because you can't just expect to hold this shack. You've got a tiny little bit of ground. You can have 0 angles, and these guys are going to be shooting you from a bazillion different angles. So you need to be trying to spread out and making sure that you're as hard to kill as possible, and make sure that nades aren't easy to hit you. So if we continue playing, I think T-Bone does spot out Fuzzface, and as we can see, Optic do also have an angle from the back here. So it's a long way away, and obviously Alliance don't know where these shots are probably coming from. So the first thing they need to be thinking is where are they coming from, and get some smokes behind them to protect them from those shots to make it a little bit easier when they're taking a fight. So in this situation, they should have been throwing smokes behind. You can see that VZ did get picked up and has already been knocked again by a nade. It's all because they keep standing on the same position. Once VZ should have gone into the shack and started healing, and then the rest of the team should have spread out and started to look for the remaining FaZe members. Now, at this point in time, T-Bone should be calling, people are on top of me, start peeking on me, and let's get these guys dead. So we see they're still stuck inside the shack, and T-Bone here has already seen 2 members. You can see Jempty and Mixie both here pushing onto Alliance, and there's absolutely 0 support from his teammates, absolutely 0. I don't think this is a misplay by T-Bone. I think this is a misplay by the rest of the team. T-Bone is the only one here that's playing a confident and assertive position. The rest of them are just cowering away in a little corner, and you can't win a fight by cowering away in a corner. You have to be assertive, you have to take land, and you have to spread out. You're not going to win a fight all standing on top of each other, because it just makes it easy for everyone to shoot each other, and everyone will know where you are because you're all on top of each other. Whereas if you spread out, it means you can get all kinds of different angles and shots on other people. So I think T-Bone made a little mistake in the fact that he shot too early. He had no reason to shoot here. Obviously, maybe in the panic of the moment, we have to be aware that in this sort of moment that obviously you probably would want to shoot this first guy. But I think he could have had a little bit of discipline here maybe, and waited for the other members to push. So as you can see, Jempty is right behind him. He knew that Mixie was going to run straight past him because no one knew where he was. But unfortunately, this in the moment, obviously T-Bone was not able to do that and didn't realise this this advantage he could have gained. He does actually almost take out Jempty, really close there, considering he gave away his position. He should have got pre-fired immediately. But as we just saw there was zero support from his teammates. I mean, in this sort of situation, you need to have full support from your teammates. Someone needs to be refragging for you. Only one of those guys needs to be resing VZ for the second time, and the other person needs to be at least trying to support T-Bone in his endeavours. Otherwise, his position's completely wasted, as you can see. And now Phaser, obviously Phaser playing this fantastically. They've completely surrounded the shack. Fuzzface are now on the north side, got a great angle on them. They're fully surrounding the position, and there's not much Alliance can do. And so at this point, the fight is basically lost. Alliance are in a 4v3, so they're down a member, and they're stuck in a small little shack that has almost zero cover. So because of the fact they've not spread out, they've just lost their fight straight away. VZ tries to walk out and take the fight. Takes a lot of shots in the process, but there's a lucky knock on Fuzzface from Vitality, which are a little while away, but that doesn't really help Alliance because they're still stuck in the shack. Obviously, nades can come in here and easily take them out, but what we will see is Alliance do try to make a push through the smoke at some point, but at that point it's just too late. They already take knocks and they're already completely surrounded. So what Alliance needed to do here was assert their dominance and push around the circle. They had the circle. FaZe had to push into them. They had all of the advantages. Even if they had one knock, they could have at least used their two members to spread out. And you can see Jempty has moved away, and he's killed VZ, and the other two are stuck in the shack and been down. So I'm not going to go any further into this recording because they do end up trying to frag. If I skip forward a second, at this point they do try to send two people and take the fight, and they do a fantastic job with two knocks, but then they get flanked again. So as you can see, the fight was just too passively played. You've got to be playing those fights way more aggressive, way more assertive. So I think that's lesson one in their confidence. They need to be pushing their confidence and playing a lot more assertively than that. So let's have a look at some of their other assertive, their confidence plays, and see how it goes. Also, I apologise for my face cam. It's really hard to look at the camera rather than my monitors. Like, it's weird. So sorry. Alright, let's go on to the next clip. Okay, we're still on the topic of confidence. And here we see in the late game circle, Alliance have a nice position in the circle, and they hear Knights and Tempo Storm are having a fight in the northwest east side of the circle. They already know of Ghost's position because earlier on in the circle they had a big fight with Ghost and they ended up clearing all of them but one. So they know there is a Ghost member somewhere in that area of the circle, but they don't know exactly where that guy is. But they hear the fight between two teams. This is a top 4 situation with 10 people left in the circle. So when you hear a fight between two teams, what you should probably be doing is trying to join in on that fight. Now, you could get killed in the process of this, but you want to try and eliminate as many of your other opponents as possible to get the first place. If you're looking to get the first place, playing passive is no reason. You're not going to gain anything from being passive. They might kill each other and injure each other a little bit, or they might back away from the fight and end up with a little bit of damage on each side. But if you join in on third party the fight, you're going to inflict so much more damage and turn the fight into a complete mess for both of those teams, because both of them are going to already be injured in the first place. Sharpshot already got a kill on a knock on one of the Knights members, if I remember, and Zampa is already down. So if you jump into this fight, you're going to keep catching these people with their pants down. So right now, what you'd like to see from Alliance is to confidently move towards this and try to take the fight. They obviously know where Ghost is, but he's a single man. The most he can do is third party and get one knock. And we know that they're a one. If we know that they're a one man, we know they're going to be playing incredibly passively. They're not going to be looking to take fights. They're just going to be lying down, going circle to circle to circle, and just hoping for the best. So they just know that they should take this fight. Obviously, Alliance don't know there's only 4 teams here with 1 solo and two other teams that are actually majorly competing for this circle. But in this situation, you hear 2 teams fighting in the final circle, in one of the final circles with very few people left. You've got to confidently go and take these fights if you want to win the game. So if we just sort of skip ahead a little bit, we see there's very little movement from Alliance. They've basically stayed in the same position. They've not. If you're not going to take the fight, you've got to take the land. You've got to try and take as much land away from these people as possible. So when they're finished with their fight, they can't come into the circle without having to force their way in. And you've got to hold one of these 2 teams out at least. You've got to try and pick a team, pick somewhere to hold these people. Don't just hold your corner. Try and take as much of the circle and work out where these people are going to come in and then assertively destroy the teams. If they took a fight here, they'd probably get third partied, because either one of these teams is going to come and push in. That's what they should have done to the other teams, but because now they're in this position where the teams have split up and there's one north of them, one east of them, what happens if they take a fight with Tempo Storm in the north, Knights will take them out in the east. If they take a fight on the east, Tempo Storm will come in from the north above them and attack them. So what ends up happening is exactly what you'd expect. One of the teams attacks them, which is Knights, and they die. Obviously, one thing that does happen is Reels accidentally walks into the solo player and gets eliminated. So that's a bit unfortunate for him. There's not really much he can do. He's just trying to get some information for his team, and unfortunately runs into a solo. It does provide some information, but not the information they really wanted from this play. So if we keep playing it out, what you can see is Knights and Alliance do end up getting into a fight. Shortly after, VZ does get the kill on Ghost. There we go. So the Ghost player was killed, so the information was good there. So they did get top 3 out of it. So they did gain 1 place by Reels dying there. They did know that information. But as you can see here, Knights have now completely surrounded Alliance, and what's obviously going to happen is either even if Alliance get knocked here or get a kill, or even if they get knocked themselves, no matter what happens here, Alliance are pretty screwed. They're in a poor position because they're now sandwiched between 2 teams. It's absolutely guaranteed that they're going to get third partied in this fight. So like that is exactly what happens. Obviously, in hindsight, we know that's going to happen, but they should have been more assertive in the first place. Otherwise, this is what happens. They get put into a poor position. They don't get to fight how they want to, and they just get attacked by both the teams and just get sandwiched. So I think the lesson to learn here is simply put, you've got to be more confident. Really got to be assertive, and especially in this situation where you're a top 4 team, you've got to. If you hear 2 of the other teams fighting, obviously you don't know there's only 4 teams, but you know there's only 10 people left. If you hear 2 teams fighting, you've got to go in and try and third party it. Not just sit there and just hope the game's going to play out perfectly for you, because it's not going to. You've got to take control of the game and turn it into your game. You're not gonna win games by just hoping everything works out for you. So Alliance, I think, could have easily taken a first place in this game if they just had tried to be a little bit more assertive with their game strategy. So now we're gonna have a look at some of their rotations and why some of their rotations might not have been the best choice, and what other rotation paths they could have taken to get better placement in some of their games. Okay guys, so we're now looking at a Game 5 rotation from Alliance. So the issue with this one is they actually lost 2 members on their rotation because it was quite a messy rotation in general. So we're going to have a look at what they could have done in this sort of scenario. So let's just play out and see where the circle pops to, and what was open and why it was open, and what they should have predicted here. So in a few seconds here, I probably should have skipped to it, but as you can see, any second now, it shifts towards the north, and as you can see, the whole eastern side of the circle is already quite empty. kind of to be expected. Lots of people trying to play around the Everest, etc., and around the southern side of the map because the majority of the circle was south. So a lot of the teams were naturally trying to play the south side of the circle here. So we can see that Reels and Sigsy, they've got two vehicles and they're down to the south. Um, so they've got a few options here to get to this circle. Obviously, you've got the West George Pole Bridge, the East George Pole Bridge. You've got the and then you've got, if you wanted to go through Roshock along that way towards Cubes, you could do that. Probably the worst rotation you can imagine in any situation, really, unless you really had to. And then you've got the two Roshock bridges that you could use, the west and the east one, and also the Yasnaya bridge. Or if you really wanted to go for a deep rotation, you could go through Yasnaya, North Yasnaya, and round like that. So, given Alliance's position, the easy rotations are the George Pole bridges. They're nice and easy rotations in terms of distance and how far away they are from them. But are they the best rotation? Not exactly. Obviously, we know in hindsight this isn't the best rotation. But let's think about the Roshock Bridge. The Roshock Bridge is completely free. There's literally nothing between them and the Roshock Bridge and coming in the north here. So why would the Roshock Bridge be free? Okay, so the Roshock Bridge is on the edge of the circle right now. So no one should be playing in that area anyway in the first place. And if they are playing in that area, we see Team Gates is in that sort of vicinity, they're going to rotate straight away. They're going to try and get an early position in the circle because they know it's going to be a good opportunity for them to get a very, very good position in the circle. There's no reason for anyone to be holding that position because if you're going to be there, you're going to be rotating. There's no reason to be holding that position whatsoever. If you want some kills, yes, but you're going to probably sacrifice your entire game just to try and get some kills here. So no one will probably be playing the west or the Roshock bridges. And the teams that are going to be there are mostly just going to be moving. So the teams that are playing Yasnaya, etc., are obviously probably not going to be playing on the edge of that circle, etc. The circle is pretty that initial circle there is quite favourable for Yasnaya and the eastern teams, so they're probably going to just try and take a position early on. And we know most of the eastern teams, such as FaZe, etc., like to go down the south on a circle like this. They like to come through the south along the southern lines. So we see Envious and FaZe have both taken the southern route. So that opens up the entire Roshock Eastern Bridge. So in this situation, you'd like to see the team just take a really long rotation. Yes, it will take a long time to do this rotation. You won't get a center spot because you'll be so late. But you will get a safe rotation. And in the circles 1, 2, 3, you want safe rotations. There's no point in taking a risky rotation in these circles because you benefit almost nothing from from having such a unsafe rotation. And what it looked like was the destination for Alliance was to end up in George Pole. If we play out the clip, they all and we'll just skip ahead a little bit. So we do see Reels there is going up along the road and then cuts into George Pole. They're very split up. It doesn't look like there's much communication going on here in terms of their routes. I think they were looking to go over any of the George Pole bridges and hope for the best there, but as you can see, I think they saw people cross over them and were a little bit scared to take that route. So they tried to go for the West George Pole Bridge instead, where they meet up and try to go it together. But as you can see, a lot of teams opt to the Roshock rotation, and the Alliance would have been the first team to make it across that Roshock Bridge because they were the closest to it. Obviously, if you went for any of the east side rotations, they all would have paid off completely fine because no one was over that side of the map. So you could have gone north Yasnaya, you could have gone the Yasnaya bridge, you could have gone the Roshock bridge. All of them would have worked perfectly fine. But instead, as you can see in the corner, we see them take the West George Pole bridge, heading towards West George Pole. I imagine they were probably going to stop in George Pole, which again I totally disagree with. I don't think stopping in a city is ever a good idea. You see they turn off really randomly, they flip on their bike, and they just accept the crates. They end up. I'll skip ahead again. T-Bone that end up just taking the crates. Let's see. They take the crates, and obviously this position is really bad. There's no the crates are just awful because sure you'll be in this circle for now, but we know for a fact come circle 4 that you're not going to be in this circle because it's going to shift north because of the circle settings with the water. So this position is guaranteed to be a failure. So playing this position is very short-sighted. But obviously short-sighted for a reason. It's because they had to reactively change their plans due to due to running into problems, and they had to make a quick, decisive decision, and ended up here. And at least they're safe; they didn't die immediately. But as you can see, if they'd have taken the Eastern Bridge, they'd have had a much better time. So um, I'm not going to go too much into it because obviously this discussion is more about hindsight, and there's not much they could have done in real time to really understand this. But um, the team should be looking at these sort of things and understanding in what sort of scenarios do uh, are what bridge is free. And in this situation, I think it's safe to say it's fairly predictable that the Roshok bridge would be available in this situation, and it's also fairly predictable that the George Pole bridges would be highly contested. So I think they need to keep that in mind in the future and try to understand when what bridges are available for everyone. So let's move on to the next rotation that we think could have been done better. Okay, guys, we're on to game 6, and now we can see that Alliance are in a fairly confined position. They're not really spreading out too much right now. They've got this position. Previously, they've been shot from Tempo Storm in their northwest at this hill. So there's a bit of hill and lots of trees in between these two teams. So the visibility from Tempo Storm is ridiculously limited in its current state. So this whole ridge that Alliance are on is not visible from Church or Ghost or FlyQuest. It's a nice little ridge there, lots of trees, and Tempo Storm can see them, but very limited visibility, really hard to see them, just lots of trees in the way. So what we'd like to see here is we'd like to see them spread out, assert their area, mark their dominance, make sure that they can, when they see people, they're going to see them from a large distance, and they can have multiple angles on a team fight. As usual, we'd like to see spread out. When you have a position in a circle like this, you just want to spread out and get as much information as possible. Now, we'll see what's bad about this rotation, in my opinion, is what we'll see here is T-Bone and Reels end up pushing down the hill. Now, obviously, given this circle, if we just completely remove all the teams in the circle, completely remove all of the people, all of the information that we have, and we just think, we've got this circle, where might people be? And the first thing you think of, especially in pro play, is you can almost guarantee people are going to be in the Badlands area, with all these hills there, here and everything. So going down into this position here is somewhat suicide, because so many people can have angles on them. It's unreal, because we have to expect people to be on these hills. You'll be able to hear the people on these hills from their position. So it's a little bit naive to push into this position, because we must expect people to be in this area. The hindsight or not, there is an expectation people are going to be there. Look at the circle. There has to be people there. It's just a must. Simple information, really. So moving into this position just causes a lot of pain for Alliance. It makes their position stretched and difficult to hold, because they're now confined to that area and stuck down there, because as soon as they get into a fight, they can't really run anywhere, because all they've got is a little bit of trees as cover. There's no defilade really there. It's just some minor trees here, there, and everywhere. So they really shouldn't have taken this position. And what we see is, because the circle centers around them, which is quite nice, convenient for them, it's what we see is people start moving towards their position, and C9 take a position right next to them, as we can see here. They end up taking the hill defilade there, so not a bad position from C9. But we see the other C9 group will actually end up stopping right next to T-Bone and Reels. And the one thing T-Bone and Reels didn't really account for with this position is they already knew people were in these yellow buildings. They've already been shot at them ages ago. So those guys have an angle on these guys. They just hadn't seen them yet or moved into that position. So what ends up happening is they get third-partied a lot from Tempo Storm. So personally, there is no loss from them being at the bottom side here. If they'd have just been at the top of this hill and stayed there as a team and spread out, use the horizontal axis rather than trying to go up and down here, because there's not much up and down you can do here. There's not much area you can go to. Just take the horizontal ridge here, take the whole ridge, own the whole ridge, make sure people can't just run into it and just take it for their own, and just hold that position and let everyone else fight it out, and you try to hold the people off on the south and the southwest and southeast towards Church area, and just hold off those areas. There's no need to take the fights on on the northern front because none of those guys can see you on this front anyways. So what I'd like to see Alliance here actually just stay together and just hold this ridge as a team. Okay guys, we're on to game 8 now, and this time we're just going to have a look at their rotation. I'm starting off a little bit early, so if I just start playing out quickly here, this bit here is just to take a little note of something so we can look at it in the future. So, we can see Alliance turn up at this compound, they see it's free, nice and good. They stop all their vehicles off here, so we've got 1, 2, 3 vehicles here that they can utilise. And that's all nice and dandy. So I'm now going to skip it. This is just a bit of note, so they've got 3 vehicles here to note here. So skip ahead a little bit. I think what happens is FlyQuest end up stopping near Vitality, if I remember. Yep, FlyQuest stopped near Vitality. Vitality get into a fight with them, and Alliance run down to try and third party this fight. They're a little bit late to the fight, so this is good. I like the confidence here. I like the idea of trying to go for this fight. Really like this idea. I think it's a really good idea. They end up coming a little bit late, so opt not to take the fight and play really passive. So it ends up not going so great in their favour. So they end up backing away from the fight and deciding to rotate into the circle. So, at this point, you're thinking, okay, let's go get our vehicles, let's find a spot in the circle. And where looks good here? Probably where Valley 8 is, you know, somewhere like that. Take the hill there. There's a nice little dip where Valley 8 is, that's completely invisible to basically everywhere in this circle. This is one of the circles where you've got to go gun-ho, take an assertive position in the circle, and just go balls to the wall on it, and take a nice position wherever you can. And you need vehicles for a rotation like this. It's flat land, it's very visible, there's lots of sidelines everywhere. So this is the sort of circle you want a vehicle in. But what we see Alliance do, let's just skip ahead a little bit. They do get into a minor fight with Vitality, then back off. And then they go for a foot rotation into the circle. Now, a foot rotation in the circle is just ridiculous, to be quite honest. There's no way in God's name you're making it anywhere close to this circle and surviving. People are going to notice you as soon as you step into this circle, into any position, because all you've got here as cover is trees. You're in the middle of a road, you're so visible to everyone. This is like a million times the worst decision you can make, because running into the circle on foot, look at this, a billion people just start to notice them. They get shot from millions of angles, they get third partied by Vitality in the back as well, and everyone just shooting at them. It's just like they're a firing range. What they needed to do there was, instead of spend so long sitting there with Vitality and decide not to take the fight with Vitality, they should just run back, got their vehicles, and just balls to the wall, gone into the circle. Personally, would like to see them take the Valley 8 position, jump on top of him and destroy him. Something along those lines. Anywhere on the circle, really, where there's a dip, they could have taken. There's lots of dips all over the place on this circle. Could have maybe taken a hill near opposite C9. There's a lot of positions played. I think there's a Totality have got themselves a nice dip. Lots of positions that could have been played here. But this is one of the circles where you have to play balls to the wall, and running into the circle is definitely not balls to the wall. That's basically, you're just getting shot down. You've got no chance of doing anything in the circle on foot. So I think there's a definite misplay on this circle. I think they probably know they misplayed this circle quite severely. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this one. Simply put, they just needed vehicles. There's no more real analysis around this. They just needed to bring vehicles. If I skip ahead, you see they just get destroyed in the road. There's a massive fight here. Vitality end up coming in, and it's just really a sort of a mess in this area. So somehow Vitality do manage to survive out there, but going on foot when you've got a team behind you and you know they're behind you is never a good idea. So unfortunate position, unfortunate play from them, but I don't think it was the right play at the time. And even with hindsight, there's just, you know, that they knew there was a team there behind, that was going to come up behind them, so they had to take some sort of assertive rotation rather than this half-assed walking rotation. So yeah, another one of those unfortunate rotations for them. Not really the best planned out rotation. Okay, we're now on to our final clip. This is game 12, the final game of the week, and we see that Alliance have got quite a good position here. Actually, I mean, look, they've got a nice position in the circle. One of the best, one of the only compounds in this circle, and the circle's now about to pop. So let's have a look what happens. The circle goes to our west, just outside of their compound. My first thoughts on this position are they're very close to the circle, very close. probably take a position, on the northeast side of the circle. There is a nice little bit of defilade just west of this wizard hut that I'm highlighting here with my mouse, that they could probably play as a holding position. Whether or not they know of NRG here or not, I don't really know. So they might do. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they've made any noise, NRG. So what I'd like to see Alliance do is probably take this dip as a commanding position for now. Let the circle play itself out a little bit, and then maybe rotate up and towards the edge. There's a lot of defilade up here that's completely invisible to Envy, Vitality, etc. Or just anywhere along this little ridge that I'm highlighting here would have been nice. But I'd like to take the holding ridge near the Wizard Tower to start with, because what we end up seeing is all these teams down the bottom end up having a massive mess of a fight down below here. So you want to try and avoid that fight and let them fight it out until you can safely rotate into this this position here and take a late rotation into this corner once you know it's safe. And if NRG push down into you, you can start attacking them. But what we actually end up seeing is, I think there's a lot of rotations you could do in this circle, and obviously mine might not be the best idea, and mine might be taken into account hindsight. But what actually ends up happening is Alliance. Let me just skip ahead. Alliance get a knock on Envy, and then they start making a run south towards Envy and try to take the fight there. Now, I think the reason they're trying to take this is because they want this position where Vitality are. They want to take this Vitality position because the Vitality position is a great position in a circle. It's got view lines across the entire map. You can see everything. You can shoot people in the field. You can shoot people wherever you want. But the issue is there's a billion teams there, and they know there's a lot of teams there because they've heard them all shooting. So I'm not entirely sure why they took this rotation of going south here. You can see it's a complete mess. T-Bone tries to preemptively take the position down here. They must not have known Vitality were there, because jumping right on top of them with a single player is never a good idea. But I think what T-Bone was doing was trying to get a flank position on Envy there to get an easy fight and a nice angle on the fight. So I'm not really going to go too much further into this replay because there's not really much point. You know how it's going to go. It's a complete mess down there. The whole team just gets completely annihilated. As you can see, NRG do start to push into this area. I do believe NRG get wiped out quite hard in their rotation from Envious. So if I just skip along here, what happens is, yeah, NRG get destroyed by, I think it's Envious in their rotation. So NRG end up taking this dip next to the tower like I wanted them to. And then they take the position into the circle exactly how I wanted Alliance. I would have preferred Alliance to do it. I would have preferred Alliance to go up to the more northern, where there's actual more hills and defilade up there, rather than holding this position on the edge here where it's really kind of dangerous and not so much. But I just feel like going south there was not the right call. Even with hindsight, if you remove the hindsight, I don't think that's where you'd want to go in the first place. There's more hill position here. There's more circle dominance in this position than there is in the south, and this hill cuts out like just near Vitality's position here, so a lot of the cover you get from the hill is lost around here. So I don't think there was actually much benefit from getting this position in the circle, but obviously it's all hindsight, and whether or not they would have worked out better in my case is a tough one to read unless you see the game happen live. But I definitely think they would have had a much more successful game here had they gone to the northeast side of the circle, as it was a safer, easier rotation. They didn't have to rotate south. They could have taken their vehicles there, built a vehicle compound. There was a lot of things they could have done there, and unfortunately that wasn't the case. Okay guys, so that wraps up the video. Sorry it's a little bit long. Obviously I didn't mean to make it so long, but just kind of went that way, as there was a lot to talk about in a lot of these clips. Obviously, feel free to criticize any of my content. I'm more than happy to accept any criticism. I mean, I'm always looking to try and improve myself. And obviously, some of the things I've said might be wrong. They're all my views, my own personal views on how I think the game should have gone, and some of the ideas I think Alliance should be taking on board to try and improve themselves. So obviously feel free to criticize, feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, etc. to keep up with all the things I'm working on. But again, I just want to point out there's no bad feelings about any of this. This is just personal, looking at what things the Alliance could potentially improve. There's no need to take any of this personally or anything. It's just some personal thoughts that I thought could have been done better in their gameplay. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments or anything that you think about this video. How was it? Did you enjoy it, etc. And I'll see you guys next time.